I don't know if you know this, early voting has tended to favor Democrats. I don't think there's any world in which Kamala Harris wins. Early voting has started. Okay. And now looking at all of the numbers that are currently available, Republicans are massively outperforming the 2020 performance that they had. So we did the math here. The data, I guess, comes from the Democrat. Is it the data firm? Yeah, TargetSmart.
TargetSmart, yeah.
Okay. So let me give you some information here. And then I believe we're going to have Gay William on for the chat because so many of you have asked for him back.
They did?
You're gluttons for punishment. Pennsylvania. Okay. So this is the data we have from 21 days out in 2020. The Republicans, or the Republican ballots that were cast, it was 16%. And the Democrat ballots that were cast were 76%. Now it's 24% Republican and 67% Democrat. So that means that in the early voting, the change, the swing from 2020 has been a 17-point swing toward Republicans.
Wow.
In Pennsylvania.
That's incredible in Pennsylvania.
Which is well within the margin of error. And I want to be clear about something here. This is not just one precinct or a district, right? This is early voting. So there can be a tremendous variance, but there's no reason to think that this trend would not continue all the way up until election. And as I give you Arizona, some of these other numbers, I'll tell you how it really does kneecap the Democrats as far as pulling a fast one on Election Day. But let's go to...
Especially in Pennsylvania.
Especially Pennsylvania.
So if Trump wins Pennsylvania, Scott Presler has to be the first person that gets a handshake.
Yes, he does.
From him. So fantastic work. That's one of the results.
Let's keep it to a handshake.
Just a handshake. Yeah, that's all.
So Arizona, 21 days out. Okay, 2020, the Republican ballots were 30%. The Democrat ballots cast were 49%. Now it's 50% Republican, 29% Democrat. Jeez. That means, and I'm making sure that I'm reading this correctly.
You are.
The change from 2020 to now in early voting in Arizona is a 40% swing toward Republican.
Wow.
40% swing toward Republican. We're just talking about early voting. I don't know if you know this, early voting has tended to favor Democrats, especially that last go around when they were terrified of COVID.
The thing.
Georgia, 21 days out. What we have seen in Georgia is a 5% swing toward the Republican Party, which may not seem as big as the other states, but when you talk about a state that is so close, I mean, you're talking about some states that are just won by thousands of votes. North Carolina, the swing is 23% toward Republicans. We're making all of this available. LiveWithCrowder.com, link in the description. So think about that. You're talking about double-digit, aside from Georgia, double-digit swings towards Republicans. And you also need to keep in mind that ballots get on average about 8.75% more red Republican as we get closer to Election Day.
So it could get worse.
Yeah. Everything that we have, all the numbers that we have available to us would suggest that this will at least be a good reference point, if not become worse for Democrats. But again, I also understand, here's the thing, I understand that you cannot compare, especially these last elections. There's just such a major shift technologically in data availability, in media consumption, that it's really hard to sort of just compare it to the last election. For example, I mean, you're just going through the 80s and 90s. The precedence is more consistent. It's stronger. In this case, it's not. However, the totality of what we see, like we mentioned, the Gallup self-identified, party affiliation. Mm-hmm. When you look at the polling, the aggregate polling of each of these swing states, when you look at the betting odds, and now you add on top of it early voting and this massive swing, on top of the Holocaust that was the interview last night between Kamala Harris and Brett Baer, outside of cheating, and I mean this, outside of cheating, I can say this now on YouTube apparently, I don't think there's any world in which Kamala Harris wins. Of course, the caveat being that you do everything in your power. A big reason for this swing, by the way, is it's not because of the candidates. You look at the favorability of Donald Trump, that hasn't changed that much. It's because of you. You have been doing this legwork. You have been convincing people in your communities. I think last night was actually the first time that Never Trumpers had the realization of, oh my God, it could be much, much worse. There's an opening, so don't become complacent. But I also think it's going to be harder to cheat. What was the number of Michigan votes that came in that night? Do we know?
I think we put a note in here, right here. So the Michigan Biden. So this was, I guess, a smaller one. Maybe there were some other ones out there. So
yeah, well, the big Wayne County dump, that graph. But in one county, Biden received 100% of a vote dump. But the mail-in voting went 90-something percent.
Yeah.
Early voting and mail-in voting for Biden, right?
Yeah,
that can't really be done. That can't really be done. First off, you probably see more early voting than necessarily mail-in voting. They're not the same thing depending on the state. And if you see this trend, it would be really hard to sell the American public on, oh yeah, that's right, 90-something percent of all the early votes actually came in for Biden. That makes it really, really hard. So it can box them in here. Not saying they won't try something. You see what's going on in Virginia. Did you just see what happened in Grand Rapids? They lost an entire tray of ballots. That's like at least 300 that they admitted to, just gone. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Wow. So we might send out some more. If you get 2, don't fill out 2, but we probably have no way of checking.
That's good to know.
They're going to try a lot of crap, okay, to be clear. There's a lot of, go out there, be a happy warrior. Don't be a Kamala Harris. Hey, if you're still watching this, I appreciate it, because in today's day and age, people watch for 30 seconds. It's like a dancing nurse or a cat. So thank you. You can also tune in live weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. And now, this, if you click it, otherwise it's nothing. In a way, if you click it, you are the one who created that video, because right now you exist on a timeline where it may not exist. But if you click it, you make it exist.